Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Sir Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. So, two things. Yes, the virtual background is a little bit different. This is the shelving that's in this room, but in the corner. This is, I guess you could say, some of my current reading material. Um, Something I need relative access to. That top secret game, it's still in the wrap. There we go. That should be Solarian Games sent that to me so I could do it as a giveaway. So why not use it as a giveaway for OSR Christmas? So that'll be in the OSR Christmas gifting. And there's a banner at the bottom of the screen for WotC, which is a low sugar wine. If you are a wine, I'm not a connoisseur, but I enjoy my wine. I like my red wine. And this is a low sugar, low carb wine that doesn't spike my blood sugar. So the link's there. If you use the link, you'll put a few coins in the tavern's coffers. So why do I have the forward for the first edition DMG up on the screen? This is Mike Carr's works or words from 1979. Well, we were having a discussion, all right? That new Rule Zero that WotC is putting into their latest beginner adventure. And there's this idea that everybody at the table is equal, right? The DM has a lot more responsibilities than the players do. No matter what edition you're playing, no matter what game system you're playing, the GM has to know the adventure, has to know the rules. Rachel would call them the facilitator, but they need to be able to keep the game moving at a significant pace that keeps everybody engaged. Also, if you have a game scheduled and one of your players can't make it, guess what? The game goes on. If your DM can't make it, you're not running that game. Case in point, tonight, every other Tuesday, we usually have an AD&D 2E game. Joe the Lawyer is our GM. Joe has a horrible head cold, didn't get much sleep. He had to bow out. We don't have a game today. Now, if I couldn't make the game, they'd still keep on going. So it's a fallacy to say that the players are just as important as the DM. Players are certainly important, and it's certainly important that everybody have an enjoyable time if they're putting the effort into it. But the GM has a lot more responsibility. Now, maybe that will go away when we introduce AI GMs, right? I am sure WotC is moving ahead with that pretty quickly. And at which point, the GM won't be sick. At which point, you won't be arguing with your GM over the interpretation of the rules because it's AI, it knows best. But in the meantime, I got this up on my side screen too, but is dungeon mastering an art or a science? An interesting question. If you consider the pure creative aspect of starting from scratch, the personal touch of individual flair that goes into preparing and running a unique campaign, even if running that campaign means that you are literally reading WotC's material, you are putting prep into it. You are putting time into it. I know Joe puts, probably 10 to 15 hours at least in between sessions getting things ready. Okay. Or the particular style of moderating a game adventure, then dungeon mastering may indeed be thought of as an art. If you consider the aspect of experimentation, the painstaking effort of preparation and attention to detail, and the continuing search for new ideas and approaches, then dungeon mastering is perhaps more like a science. Not always exacting in a literal sense, but exacting in terms of what is required to do the job well. We've all played in games with a GM that wasn't prepared, whether it was at a convention or whether it was your home campaign. There's a new set of rules, they don't really know it, and that's fine if you're all in that position. But what's horrible, right, is if the players know the rules and the GM doesn't. right? Then you kind of go, oh man. And you're putting a lot of responsibility in the GM's hands. And you're putting a lot of preparation in the DM's hands. Requires a little bit of trust. There's a societal give and take, certainly. But the GM is the one that is literally carrying the ball. They are the one. They are your, if you want to make a sports analysis, they are the quarterback. They are the pitcher. They're involved in pretty much every play. So, esoteric questions aside, one thing is for certain. Dungeon mastering is, above all, a labor of love. Certainly. Now, I play in a gaming group where all of us are GMs by nature. So it's great to be able to sit back, take a step back, and enjoy the game as a player and watch how somebody else runs a game. It's a learning experience. It is demanding, time consuming, and certainly not a task to be undertaken lightly. The sheer bulk of the book you hold in your hand will tell you that. 256 pages for the DMG or something like that for first edition. By the way, last year at this time, there were stories in the geek news that there's a shortage of D&D 5e DMs in of all places, New York City. Now, why is that important? Well, not everybody wants to DM. Everybody wants to be a player, John. Right? Playing is the easy spot. You learn your work character class. You're good. GMing, you're in the spotlight all the time. So,
here's a question.
Yes.
So if they kind of like devalue the game master,
Right.
Is there strategy to try and like devalue that person so that they can install like the AI?
I think your
game master like that.
I think there is certainly on the part of Woods of the Coast an attempt to de-emphasize the importance of an individual that is a DM.
Yeah.
And they want to emphasize that everybody, if an AI can take over as being a GM, then your games don't get called off because you don't have a GM available.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody is a player, then you start aiming more of these products to be collectible or player forward products.
Right. It moves where the power goes.
Mm-hmm, because the thing is, and it's an open secret, isn't it? Because it isn't a secret, is that the vast majority of purchases, I'm a player, I'm a DM. If I'm a DM, I spend a lot more money on games than somebody who's just a player. It's just it comes with it. You're buying material that you're going to run. Whereas a player, you just need what you need to know about your class. So, now I gotta find myself. But as all DMs know, the rewards are great. An endless challenge to the imagination and intellect. An enjoyable pastime to fill many hours of fantastic and often unpredictable happenings. I love to improvise and improv as a GM. I love it when my players go off the beaten path and ruin what I had planned, because that makes it fun for me. An opportunity to watch a story unfold and a grand idea to grow and flourish. The imagination knows no bounds, and the possibilities of the game of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons are just as limitless. Who can say what awaits each player except a cornucopia of fantasy and heroic adventure? So much is waiting, indeed. This book holds much in store for you as a DM. It is your primary tool in constructing your own world, or milieu. It contains a wealth of material, and combined with the other works of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the Monster Manual, and the Player's Handbook. Now, of those books, we just discussed this before, right? The Player's Handbook was only supposed to be for the player. The Monster Manual and the DMG, were DM forward, right? You weren't supposed to refer to these books or even own them if you were going to be just a player. That's changed because they want your money. It gives you all the information you need to play AD&D. But as always, the more One more thing is needed: your imagination. Use the written material as your foundation and inspiration, then explore the creative possibilities you have in your own mind to make your game something special. Dungeon mastering itself is no easy undertaking, to be sure, but dungeon mastering well is doubly difficult. And and I'm going to probably do an episode on paid DMing. There's a different expectation when you're putting your money down, what you're expecting from the person at the other side of the DM screen. There are a few game masters around who are so superb in their conduct of play that they could disdain the opportunity to improve themselves in some way. Fortunately, this work addresses the matter at length and gives you plenty of suggestions on all aspects of dungeon mastering, as well as some of the finer points, in order to help you improve your own efforts. Take heed and always endeavor to make the game the best it can be and all that it can be. That is being placed on the dungeon master. That responsibility. We talk about everybody should have fun and have a good time at the game, and certainly. But whose responsibility is it to make sure that people have a good time, have fun at the game? The DM, right? They certainly the other players, help set the scene. Other players are part of the dynamic. But with a poor DM, you're probably going to have a very poor session. Just something to think about, just something to talk about. Leave your comments, likes, dislikes, whatever. If you're not subscribed, please do. Um, I'd like to hear from all of you. Tomorrow night, there's a live stream. I don't know if we have a guest. We're working on guests for December. Tomorrow night is Talking Crit with myself and Bad Mike. So I look forward to hopefully seeing you with us tomorrow night. As usual, be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice, roll them well. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. I'll catch you then. Later.